We've talked about why free speech is a significant part of the white pill, about the solution of helping things to be better. And we talked about free speech and free press as well. Why it matters is because really the superclass, when unchecked, becomes quite rancid, because there's predators that spend all their time seeking to do so, very narcissistic psychopaths seeking privilege, power, prestige, and so on, and control. And that's kind of their full-time job, and that's what they spend all their life doing and figuring out. And if unchecked, it'll become very nasty. So one of the things they fear is being exposed, because they know that what they're doing to most people would seem absolutely grotesque. And if people knew what they were doing, what's actually going on, people would actively take measures to prevent them. And that's all fine theoretically when you realize on a normal distribution of altruism and psychopathy, most people are kind of in the middle. They're altruistic, they want to live good, meaningful lives, they'd be happy for others to live good, meaningful lives as well. And there's very few people out there on the third deviation from the norm, very small portion, 1% or less, that are truly psychopaths and narcissistic, and even a smaller proportion of those developing the capacity to implement their desires in a significant way. So what they try to do is they groom and they try and get people to go along with them and so on. But the vast majority of people would find what they're doing absolutely abhorrent. So they must hide it. They must keep it secret. They must disguise it to prevent the organization or immune system from becoming activated. And they must get rid of free speech and free press. And that's why one of the pillars of liberal democracy is free speech and free press, because it keeps us free from this kind of tyranny. And that's why in all these theocracy, communism, liberal democracy, and so on, dictatorships, foreign rule, free press and free speech are absolutely prohibited, because it exposes what's going on. But I thought it would be good to give a really good example, that's fine theory, that's all nice. But to see really why the current parties that are in power really are terrified of free speech, why they're doing everything they can to eradicate it, and let's hope they never do, to limit it, going to extreme measures, obsessed over it, and obsessed over keeping the press. They bought the press, but then obviously that became the legacy press now, and there's a new form of media that's free and exposing things. But I want you to understand how fearful they are of free speech and free speech by watching the next clip. Because this is the kind of things that they want to hide from you. And they have hid it for many decades now, and it's coming out now what they've been doing. And it's grotesque. But they had to control the press. They had to limit free speech about these things, and they use all kinds of techniques to prevent, the anti-racism was a technique they used to prevent good organizational hygiene and good discussion, the vile movement, to prevent us uncovering and exposing this. For it was one of the strategies that they're still trying to use today, which is a grotesque movement, the anti-racist movement, absolutely grotesque, and what they facilitated. And I talk about that in other ones. But I'm going to show you a brief video now. I just want to watch it, and I want you to realize this is what they're trying to hide. This is the kind of things they do. This is what free speech exposes and free press exposes and mitigates and limits and prevents. And what we've seen over the past 30 years is because of the absence, the oppression of free speech, and the buying up of the press, so it's no longer free, that it's bought and paid for. But fortunately, in recent years, free speech has been doing a comeback, and the free press, primarily because of X. When X broke line with all of the other social media organizations, the other ones had to break line as well, because one of them had got free. So, but just watch this. And just realize this is why they hate free speech. This is what they do. This is what free speech and free press exposes. This is why they want to go to such lengths to stop it.
That's why, for example, the Labour Party turned a blind eye to the rape gangs, to the industrial-scale rape of young British girls across the breadth of this country. Tens of thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands of girls raped in towns like Rotherham and all across the north of England and elsewhere. And the councils, the police and local politicians turned a blind eye to all of this in order not to offend the Muslim vote and lose that demographic vote.